What if the very challenge you face is what's showing you towards your best self? True resilience is the art of using the adversity you face as a guiding light, even in the face of a life-altering injury such as losing a limb. How you rise to the challenge of turning hardship into opportunity will ultimately define you. My guest today is Ricky Banner. He's a British Army veteran turned Hyrox athlete who lost his leg while serving in Afghanistan. He also works with young people in behaviour and safeguarding and is the founder of Discomfort Zone. Ricky and I delve into a wide array of topics, including how he lost his leg in Afghanistan, Ricky's first season in Hyrox, what Ricky's training looks like, Ricky's advice for new amputees, what exactly is the Discomfort Zone, Ricky's work with men and mental health, how Ricky used his amputation as an opportunity, what are the 5 ways to well-being, and the importance of emotional resilience and physical challenge. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Ricky Banner. How's your off-season been?
It's been all right, to be fair. I stopped. Totally turned my back on a wall ball and lunges and everything. As you're probably told to do, like, just get rid of them. I know Jade, my coach, she's constantly just been like, get rid of it, get rid of the lot, go and do something you enjoy.
Yeah.
I just switched it off, took time off when I didn't need to be training, that kind of stuff. And yeah, it was good. I'm back on season now, so it was short lived. But yeah, no, it was good to just switch off, go and do whatever I wanted to do rather than having to focus on a program. So yeah, it was good.
How many, when was your last race?
So my last race was Olympia, start of May. So yeah, so I started back up. Probably I went through a strength phase pre-season up until last week for about 6-7 weeks, and then now into pre-season and starting to run and getting lots and lots of running back into the program, which I'm suddenly starting to feel in my old middle-aged disabled body. But I'll get used to it again, I'm sure I will. It'll allow me to carry on, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's so have you done any running off season, or have you just been what's your have you just been lifting heavy? Have you just been kind of chilling out? What's your actual off season been?
It's been a bit more. I've done running and little bits and pieces. So I enjoy boxing. I'm not great at boxing. I've had 2 fights in my life, one at 20 and one at 40. And yeah, both kind of charity kind of things. And I'm not great, but I just love the training. So I went and done a bit of that, which obviously then incorporates a little bit of running and so on as well.
Right.
So I have been running, but then the last 7 weeks it was kind of out of my program, and then it was just all kind of focusing on single leg stuff. I measured my legs this morning. Weirdly, my other half does a check-in every Friday on the program that she's doing, and she measures her quads and that. And I was like, right, I'm going to measure mine, and I've got one that's about 65 and one that's about 54. So I'm trying to build this left one back up to try and obviously equal out a little bit. But when you're missing the bottom part of your leg, it's quite difficult. But yeah, focusing on the single leg stuff, and then lots of the core kind of sessions where you focus on your deadlifts, your squats, that kind of thing. So building up the legs to strengthen the legs, and then obviously the upper body as well. And then now, like I say, just going back into that kind of running phase, but then adding the strength into each session as well. So let's say I'm doing a zone 2 60-minute run, and then going to do some strength work and some targeted kind of burpee work or sled work or something like that. That's added into the training.
You're just bringing those Hyrox specific stuff after taking a bit of time off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate single leg stuff. Well, I was gonna like the next time I'm whinging about single leg RDL split squats, I'll think about Ricky. Stop whinging, Jason.
Literally. But mate, honest to God, when we first started this phase, and I do it every season because I don't focus on the single leg stuff. Hopefully, I'm going to take it through with me on this season now. But when I do focus on the single leg stuff, my first Bulgarian split squat on my left leg is a sight to behold. It's quite funny, to be fair, because I spend more of the time getting frustrated at myself that I can't balance, and I'm wobbling and have to take my foot down and then put it back up and so on. And then when it comes to the last one, before we go back into the running phase, it's controlled, it's structured, it's, the balance is there. So obviously I see the progress, which is massive for me. But yeah, those first ones are quite amusing, trying to balance on that left leg when you don't really know where your foot is.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel you there. So talk to me a bit about like last season. With that's your first like Hyrox full year doing Hyrox, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Like was there a highlight for you?
There was a few, to be fair. I started the season because it was my first race was last season, as in my first solo. So I started in Olympia the year before with a friend. We went and done a doubles just to see what we could do and whether I could get around it, kind of thing was the target, rather than this becoming a thing that I fell in love with and wanted to go and do week in, week out. And we did all right. I felt like I could have gone quicker, that kind of stuff. So I was like, okay, I'm going to give this a bit of a whirl and go alone and see what I can do alone. And started the season with probably the worst race of the season in Birmingham, which is why I haven't yet got a ticket for Birmingham this year, because it's holding a little bit of bad memories. I think I went into it with COVID. I don't know because I didn't test. But
Loads of people were ill around.
Yeah. So I went into it not feeling great, and I hit the wall balls. And I think, I can't remember. I'll have to have a proper look back, but I think they took me about 8 minutes. I couldn't see. I phased out. I was blurred. I was literally. I took a knee for over a minute, just trying to get myself. I thought I was going to pass out. And then I've come off the back of that, and obviously I've completed one then, and it was I think off the top of my head 127 something. And the aim was always to go under the average, which at the time was about 130. So I was happy, but I was like, maybe this isn't for me, kind of thing, And luckily, I'd already signed up for a few more by then, because I don't know whether I would have off the back of it, if I'm honest, because it wrote me off, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I did look back at it and go, okay, with the support of my other half, saying that, I went into it quite not feeling the best, not feeling great. And it potentially could have been COVID at the time, because I know a lot of it was flying around at the time, and I know a lot of people in that arena had said afterwards that they'd tested and had COVID and so on. So that was a bit of a rough start. But then the season just got better and better as it went along. I think the standout few for me, though, were, although it didn't go to plan, I got to share the Hyrox dance floor with my other half, and it was her first one over in Vienna. It was my first one abroad, her first one completely. But unfortunately, she injured herself on the second run. And although I was trying to carry her around on the back for a little bit, I soon realised that wasn't going to happen for the next 5 runs, because it absolutely threw me off. But we managed. She injured herself on the second run. We managed to get through the sled push, and then the next run, and then did the sled pull.
Yeah. So you did 2 runs with her on your back?
So there was parts of those runs with her on the back, not the whole way around, no. And then she would help me out on the sleds, because she was able to pull the sled without hurting her knee. And she'd done a bit of damage to her knee, bless her, but she come off the sled pull, and we went to run out again, or went to walk out again. I said, we'll complete this, we'll walk it if need be. And she was in tears, bless her. She was in so much pain, but she'd fought through it for 2 stations and a couple of runs or whatever, just to try and get through it. But we couldn't. So I took her over the line, and then old Faisal just turned around to me and says, "You're not going to go and finish it?" And I was like, "What?" I was like, I'm quite happy here, you know. But yeah, he then said, "Yeah, no, go back out there and go and finish it." So I ended up running back out and finishing it. And the mind that goes from sharing stations to now suddenly doing it all on your own again, nearly got to me, to be fair. But obviously, knowing that your mind goes before your body, I pushed through and got through that and completed it for us both. But although it was a bit of a rough one for my other half and our first one, it was a bit of a standout just to be able to share those first few stations with her, and the training that she had done beforehand to prep herself for it was incredible. So that was a good one for me. And then I did the pro race in Glasgow, which was my only pro race I've done. And if I'm honest, it was one of these ones I was looking at it going, I've just got to go and see whether I can do it. You know, not something I thought I could compete in, not something I thought I was going to go in and do something magical, but just to go and test these weights and see what's what. And they humbled me a little bit. But I felt the best I'd felt all season in any of my races. On that, my running felt great, and I think I finished it in just over 1:22, which I was.
You and I were about the same.
Yeah. So it was about 1:22 that day, and I was absolutely buzzing with it, to be fair. And I don't know whether it was we was off last, the track was clear, you know what I mean, that kind of stuff. But I just felt amazing on that day. I don't know whether it was the thought in my head that I believe, and again, I've had nobody else come forward, that I'm the only amputee in the world to have done the pro race without any adaptions. So yeah, I'm yet to see whether that's an actual thing or not, or whether somebody's gone quicker than me and say, "I've let me know so I can try and beat it."
Just claim it, mate.
Yeah, that's it. I'm taking it.
Stick that flag in the ground.
So yeah, that was what that one was all about. So that was fantastic. And then my final race of the season, Olympia, I went out and done a 1:16, which from the start of the season, I think took over 11 minutes off of my time, from one end to the season to the other. So it was another highlight then. So I think every single race, bar the obviously pro one, because I've gone up in weights, I've come down by 3 or 4 minutes each race.
Did you do, was it Birmingham?
Birmingham, Excel, Manchester, Vienna, Glasgow, Olympia. Yeah, there was the 6th this season, and then my 7th one, which I did, was the Olympia the year before.
Right.
So in the whole
How many of them were solo?
all of them were solo apart from the first one.
Oh, okay.
The first one, yeah, was oh no, I'm lying. Vienna was doubles. So the 5 were solo in that season. So the 5 English, British ones even, were all solo, and then the one abroad, Vienna, was a double. And then my other double was obviously the season before, the back end of the season before, but the whole calendar year, 7 races, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, what an effort. I mean, yeah, my first race was Birmingham last year, the same as you. I think I also got like 1:30, 1:32, something like that. And then my last one was the pro in Glasgow, and I think it was 1:22.
Yeah.
But you got half a leg.
My other half keeps telling me that I've got 3/4 of a leg. He says
3/4.
by saying I've only got half a leg.
Yeah, you just said yeah. But yeah, and you're older than me. So, anyways, it's yeah, it's so funny that like like Hyrox is so interesting like that, because I was listening to you on Rock's Live, and I think you'd said to Greg that you'd bumped into him at the start line,
Yeah.
And which race was that, out of interest? Was that at
That was Vienna. So I bumped into Greg on the start line at Vienna. We'd already had a conversation. I think he'd interviewed Tyler Saunders just before, and Greg had contacted me saying Tyler's mentioned your name at the end of it as someone to potentially interview. Like, so let's see what's what. Let's see what. And then yeah, I literally bumped into him on the start line the first time I met him. But it's the same as you. Like, I was on the start line in, I believe, Manchester when I first spotted you. We hadn't actually met then. I just saw you doing all your breathing techniques, and I was quite intrigued by it. I was like,
Yeah.
what's going on here? Is it going to help? And then suddenly you took off and left me, and I was like, right, my next one, I'm going to do this breathing thing.
Yeah, you're letting all the secrets out. So you see me on the floor doing my Wim Hof breathing.
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, yeah, I think it does work, you know. Like, I mean, don't do it all the time. It makes you. Have you done much of it?
Not really, no. I went through a bit of a phase. I'd met again. It's like this world of fitness, this Hyrox world. Whatever. You meet people on Instagram, and you start talking, and somebody was on there about taking like meditation and breathing and Wim Hof's breathing and so on. So I went through a bit of a phase for a few weeks or whatever, and just lay down and just took it in the morning and tried to breathe and tried to do what he was telling me to do. And yeah, it weirded me out a little bit, if I'm honest, because I felt like it's something like as a young, if somebody had said this to me, I'd have gone, "You're mad." You know what I mean? Whatever. Use old folk are crazy. You've lost it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I felt something take over kind of my body, and it felt great, but I have lost that over the past 9 months or so, and I haven't really done much of it, but it's certainly something now you've reminded me of it that I probably need to look back into it and see what's what.
I think it's one of those things where when you're doing it regularly at the time, you're kind of like, is this doing anything?
Mm-hmm.
And then, but it's like any like good habit that you know, whether it's eating your veggies or whatever, like it's over time.
Yeah.
And I was thinking like, because obviously we're talking a bit about like off season, on season, and like right now, so we're like 11 weeks out from Birmingham, so I'm getting back into Hyrox specific mode.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a good off season and enjoyed like chilling out a bit, like going to bed a bit later than I used to, maybe sitting on the sofa and watching Game of Thrones and eating ice cream, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, such as my personality type, I get pulled into different things very easily, and like I've got that like addictive personality. I found it really hard to get back into that Hyrox mode,
Yeah.
like getting after it all the time, like making sure everything's fucking dialed, making sure I'm in bed, making sure all these and all these like other things that come along with it. Like I would like I would get a like when I go for a break at work or my lunch or whatever, I'd be doing a lap round because there's like this little lake that we're at, and I'd be doing my Wim Hof breathing while I'm walking.
Yeah.
Like, so if anyone walked past, like, seeing this guy is doing that, looks like he's hyperventilating, fucking next to this fishery, and then and then I stopped doing all that, and then but the activation energy that it takes to start doing it all again is so difficult.
Yeah.
Just like, oh yeah, like, and just little things where like, yeah, like, I don't know, like making sure my house is like spotless. That always helps. So
Yeah.
when I'm trying to, because I think if you're trying to, and maybe you got this like in the military, but if you're trying to like nail something, you can't have anything like distracting you.
Distractions. Yeah. No, 100%.
And yeah, so I went off on a tangent then, but yeah, the Wim Hof breathing thing is, yeah, it makes you feel mental, like you go all tingly and stuff. You know, like, and it's kind of a little bit of a psychedelic experience, but
I do feel that when you do it, like that first run or whatever, you do feel like you're fucking flying.
Yeah. That's what you did. You must have done that then on that day when I saw you, because I was watching you going, okay, what's all this about? Like, you know, and that was at the stage as well, I think, where I was like looking and going into and thinking, do I go into this a little bit more? Can it be helpful? You know, all that kind of stuff. So it fascinated me, you know, and I was just standing there and I was going, who is this bloke, like, full blood in front of another 30 men, just not a care in the world, just doing these mad breathing exercises. And I'm just like, okay, fair one. Like, I like it. I like it. I like the confidence. Let's see if he's got what it takes. And then obviously you just took off as well. I think you beat me by a good few minutes that day as well. So I was like, right, I'm going to start breathing like him.
Manchester was my PB, so was it 114 something,
Yeah.
basically 115 or whatever. My goal, my Birmingham goal is sub 70, by the way. That's what I'm going for. Have you got any goals?
I'd love to go sub 70 this season. So it'll be interesting. I've got my first solo this year's in Poland, Poznan.
Nice.
So that one for me is what people say when you do your first one, go out and enjoy it. I'm going to go out and enjoy this one and just see where I'm naturally at, where without pushing myself too far, too much. Well, I'll say that now. I know for a fact as soon as I get out on that dance floor, I'm going to want to go as hard as I can. But the idea is to potentially go out and enjoy that one and just see where I'm at having had this time off and see where I need to build from, and then set a target really of what I want to achieve by the end of that season, if that makes sense.
So are you looking to like peak towards the end of the season? Are you going to do like another 6 races again this year?
Ideally, yeah. At the moment, I've got Poznan, London XL, and one in St Gallen, which is a doubles. So it's the first time doing a doubles with the lad who I'm doing it with over in Switzerland. So that'll be quite an interesting doubles there. Where I'd like us to go in and around the 105 time. I think we're both capable of that together, potentially. But again, yeah, it's let's see how that goes. And the category that will pull us into potentially could lead to a world championship qualification. So it's one of them that's the goal for there really. It is to attempt to obviously try and get world championship qualification with the partner there. But yeah, as in my solo goal, I think at the moment, I always said I wanted under 130. Then I said I wanted to beat my 121 that I did with my doubles partner. Now I've done that, I want to beat the 115. You know, then I want so. I think the target's always going to move until I hit that part where I believe I can't go any further. So for me, really, the target is just to keep going out there, really, and doing what I can, and seeing where that barrier is. Because if somebody had said to me this time last year, you're gonna run a 116, I wouldn't have believed it at all. And I trained hard, don't get me wrong, but there's room for improvement for sure. And hopefully I'm going to iron a bit of that out this season and this pre-season and try and work on some of the tactics and the pacing a bit better and go after that 110 in my head would be a great season. But again, anything that just keeps improving for me is a good season, because like we said at the start, I'm a middle-aged disabled bloke, so it's one of them where you're like, right, where is my limit? Is 116 my limit? Let's go and find out. You know, is 110 my limit? Let's go and find out. You know, and that's the kind of attitude now where I want to push myself to the point where I go, okay, that is my limit. I can't get to that point. I'm now going down the other way, and let's go and enjoy something else, whether that be doubles, whether that be whatever it is. It'll be in and around the Hyrox world because I love it. And the training is exactly what I love doing. So, yeah, I'll definitely be in and around that for many years to come. But yeah, originally I was only going to ever do one season solo and see what I could do. And then this season really was going to try and do more doubles and see where I could go as doubles. But I think I'm gonna add the doubles in each season if I can. But still focused on solo whilst I'm keeping on improving. See how far I can take that really.
Nice. How do you feel? We talk about like this moving goalpost. Like, that's my target or whatever. I would just wondered, like, how do you feel? Like, what's your mental health like in it like after the event? Because like I feel, and that this goal that we put in our heads, because last year like I wanted to do a 115. I did a 115, and then it's nice, isn't it? But then it doesn't last long, and then and it's something that like me and my gym mates talk about a lot, and some people more than others, and it's like you realize that goal you'll never reach it. It will always move.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, have you got any strategies to deal with it? Like, are you good at enjoying them wins?
No, it's one of them. It's like, for me, and I've learned this recently. It's the goal, the target, which is what I always preached. Because I work in a school as a mentor and behaviour kind of support and that kind of stuff. So I run a team in a secondary school doing this. So it was always about trying to find targets, setting targets, and reaching these easy, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic targets. That actually now I am so far the other way of just enjoying the process. The target for me is kind of relevant. I've achieved what I wanted to achieve out of Hyrox already. I've done it, and I've done more. So now let's just go and see what I can do. And if I can't do any more, I'm in the shape of my life. I am in the physical and mental health shape of my life. Where 2 years ago, I was in the worst physical and mental health of my life, so for me, I'm already winning. And as long as I then have got something, that goal will shift, that target will shift, but it's going to shift onto something else that I'm going to go on to enjoy, because I've learned that actually, if you can just move those targets onto something that you're going to work towards, it's that process for me is the win. The target at the end of it, yes, I'd love to go under 110. If I don't go under 110 ever in my life, so what? My target was 130 last season. You know what I mean? A year ago, it was let's get under 130. And now I'm talking a season later, 20 minutes quicker, which sounds mad. The reality is for me, I just want to be somebody that pushes myself through my limits, and as long as I understand what my limits are, the target's always reached, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that focusing on the process thing, and letting go of the goal, and trusting the process. I think because as well, like when I look back as well, the races were great, and the picture at the end of your timestamp and stuff like that. But actually, like the things I remember are those difficult training sessions, and the ones that you fucking hated, or there might be one that you hated, there might be one that you loved, but they stick in your mind as like maybe one where you really felt like you progressed, or you're like, it was really difficult. But I suppose now that like I'm starting to do like more Hyrox stuff as well, think the goal, without the goal, I don't know, what do you think? Like, I don't know if you would train as hard. What do you think?
No. Like, the goal's got to be there,
Yeah.
and that target's got to be there. Like, if I didn't have that 110 in my head, I wouldn't push myself necessarily through those pain barriers of you've got to run. If you want a 110, you've got to run this kilometre 30 seconds faster than you've done before, because that's where you're going to get the most benefit. For me, for instance, I started the season in around 5.5 minute pace, roughly on average. I ended the season in and around 440s on average, 450s on average. So if I can take those down to under 430 on average, there's a lot of time I'm going to be able to make up. And as long as I'm feeling stronger, which I am, that sled might move a little bit quicker. My sled pulls improved massively if I focus on breathing through my burpee broad jumps and not just lying on the floor dying, as I normally do, in and around about that 40-metre mark when I realise I'm only halfway, and I just lie down flat on the floor. My other half's got many photos of me just as I take my little 10-second breather as though I'm not going to get up ever again.
Well, I want to talk to you about that actually, because I had a little nosy at your Olympia splits, because I was like, and your burpees are fucking rapid. What was your burpees, like 3.5 minutes?
To be honest, I haven't really looked into the burpees. My burpees are good. I do enjoy a burpee. But I feel as like
70th place or something like that.
I feel as if I could. I know what was Birmingham. I think my best thing I'd done was lunges in Birmingham. I think I finished 23rd out of all the open men on the lunges. So I kind of then went, okay, my lunges are all right. Just focus on everything else. Now I need to work on the lunges again because I haven't really worked on them. But yeah, no, my burpees, I do enjoy a burpee. I do enjoy the challenge of a burpee. But I think I go out quite quick and then I gradually just start to slow down. Whether that's a good tactic or not, I don't know yet. So I'm going to have to try and work that out in pre-season and going through before we race. But
I think they look like they're doing pretty good, mate.
Okay, yeah. I'll take that on board.
Yeah. Well, my lunges were all right last year. Like certainly my Glasgow ones, I'd sped up, but like yours were like 2 minutes fucking faster. So I was like, I need to talk to him about his lunge. I've been trying that. Literally, what you were talking about is taking my breather on the floor. I've been practicing that recently. And you do feel like pathetic, like fucking. You're just like lying there with your face against the floor looking. But I suppose we're looking at like little increments. Like, do you want to be resting on the floor, or do you want to be resting in like a semi-squat position, which is going to use the most energy?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The when you stood up. So I think it's a smart one. Like I was doing it was like a low RPE burpee session at the gym, and I was literally just like jump, lie on the floor, jump. And I was taking it really steady. It was like I was fucking playing dead, like just like recover. Oh dear, yeah.
Maybe it's just a photo that gets me every single time because it looks like I'm chilling out. So that's got in my head a little bit. Maybe it is a good tactic to go all out to 40 meters, have my 10-15 second rest, and then go all out again. But
yeah. I think I think it's working because, like I said, if you look at your splits, you're rapid. Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about like your accident and how you lost your limb. You're in the military, right? Was it Afghanistan?
Yeah. In Afghanistan, in 2010. Yeah, I've been out there. I think about 3 months at the time into my 6-month tour, and I think it was 4 days after my birthday. I can't remember which birthday it was. I think it was my 28th or something like that. And it was, 4 days after my birthday. We'd gone out on patrol in the morning, and we were going in to put an observation post in, so basically watch over, keep an eye on the surrounding area for any kind of movement and so on, and report back to allow the farmers that were in and around us to get about and do their stuff, because they were being intimidated by the Taliban and so on. So couldn't do what they were doing, and if we could push our barriers out a little bit, it allowed them to be able to trust us a little bit more, and we would look after them and so on. So we was putting this observation post in, and on that day I'd been promoted, so I was the whole tour. I was the lead section commander. I was at the front. Well, I had somebody in front of me, but I was the lead section commander, who would lead all the patrols and so on. And that day I'd been promoted to the platoon sergeant, so I was then looking after the platoon. So he then stays at the back. The platoon commander goes at the front with the lead section commander and so on, and the platoon sergeant that sits at the back and looks after casualties and ammunition and so on. So I've been put at the back, and then I was just sat at the back going, all right, this is boring. As the lead section was doing all the bits and pieces to look at the OP and going up and down this alleyway and so on, I was just sat at the back, providing cover for them and so on. So I got bored, and I said, boss, I'm going to come up and have a look at the OP. And he's like, no, you're not. Stay back there. You don't need to come up. Stay there. So I stayed there, had another coffee and another fag. Asked him again. And this went on for about 30, 40 minutes. And in the end, I just went, right, I don't care what you say, boss. I'm coming up. I'm going into that OP. I want to get eyes on. And it was out of pure boredom. I didn't necessarily need to go up there and get eyes on. It was purely out of boredom at the back. So I went down the front. And as I got down there, he says, right, if you're coming over, grab so-and-so as well. So I climbed over this wall into this alleyway. And bearing in mind, these 5, 6 lads had already been walking up and down this alleyway for 45 minutes or so. So I popped my head back over this wall and was like, right, you've got to come over as well. And as I did, I took one step backwards with my left foot and just had a bang. And I was on the floor, and there was smoke everywhere, and there was dust settling and so on. And I was like, oh, well, what's going on? So I'm sitting there going, right, your responsibility now, get the casualty. Who's the casualty there? And I've then gone to sit up to go and help whoever it was, and then realised it was me. As the pain then kicked in, I didn't have my leg ripped off or anything like that at the time. It just smashed all the bones in my foot and my ankle. So basically, what had happened is I'd stood on an IED, but it had partly detonated. So it had the impact but no explosion. So it was, what they've explained to me since was imagine standing on top of a 30-foot building, jumping off and landing on one foot, straight legs. The impact that would have through your leg, you got, but you didn't have the explosion, which then basically takes limbs off and causes further damage and so on. So I then looked up, my leg was twisted off. So my feet were like this and one foot was twisted off to the side. It was only, so I then thought, it's ripped my foot off, but it stayed in my trouser leg. So I said to my mate, is my leg still on? Is my leg still on? And he grabbed hold of my foot and twisted it, and I screamed at this point, because obviously it was incredibly painful, and I was like, it's on, kind of things. And then I was rapidly taken out of there on helicopter back to Camp Bastion, which is the big camp in Afghanistan where all the British troops work out of. And then I was in the hospital there for, I think, 36 hours maybe. And I was flew back to Birmingham, where I went into the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Birmingham, where they were treating all the soldiers that were coming back. And at that stage, I was told to expect the worst. So I thought, I ain't going to play football for a bit. In my head, that was all it was. And it weren't until, I think, that evening that they sat me down and was like, you've got a choice, really. We've had a look at your scan, basically, and your ankle is absolutely like shattered to pieces. It's going to be quite difficult to fix. And what we recommend is you have it amputated, but the decision is yours, basically. And we're going to leave you with that. But if you do choose to have it amputated, you're booked in for 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, and was rattling off, basically trying to get me to go, yeah, okay, it's my choice, rather than them going, you really need to have it off. And I says, what would happen if I chose not to have it off? And they were like, you're going to be in pain. Let's be real, you're going to be in pain for a year or two, and you're going to have it amputated in any case. But like I say, you're booked in for 10 o'clock tomorrow morning if you want to have it amputated. So I was just like,
So how did that feel like in that moment?
oh, horrific, horrible. Life ending almost, kind of thing. That's it. It's like I cried the whole night. I didn't sleep. I cried the whole night, and I just said no, like no, and I went through every scenario in my head. And the reality is, I knew from that moment it needed to be amputated, and I think that's why I cried the whole night. And then the following day we went down and went through with the procedure, and I came back up into my bed, and I was then looking down in the bed, and where you would normally see two legs going underneath the blanket, the sheet, whatever, I could only see one and a little bit, and I was just like, what the hell? So yeah, it was mad at that time, like really, really quite mad. And then even for like the next 2 or 3 days when I was in hospital, I would have my leg out, and then when somebody came and visited me, I'd cover it up, because I felt, I don't know what, I don't know whether I just felt like people would look at me differently, whatever it might be. And there was just this incredible nurse. I don't know who she is. I don't know her name. I'd love to be able for her to go, that was me. But she basically come and sat with me for about 45 minutes, shut the curtains and just had this discussion, and just went, I've noticed every time somebody comes in and visits you, you cover it up. And I was like, do I? Kind of thing. And she's like, yeah, no, you cover it up. And she was like, do you want to explain why? And I says, I don't really know. I said, I don't really. And she went, they're going to see it eventually. You're going to be leaving here in the next week or so, you know what I mean? And they're going to see it. So, it's getting used to it, you being used to people seeing it, that kind of stuff. And yeah, from that moment on, then the next person that walked in, I pulled the sheet off of the leg, and I was just then like going, right, it's now time for people to obviously see it, and it become a bit more real then. And yeah, that was the start of a little journey, but yeah, it was a few dark moments in that time for sure, where I just purely believed like that life as it was over, and I was never going to be able to do things ever again, and I'm never going to be able to play football, I'm never going to be able to run, I'm never going to be able to do this, I'm never going to be able to do that, and that just went through my head for the next few months before I got to Headley Court to start my rehab.
Thanks for sharing that. What about now? Like, do you still feel self-conscious about it now? Does that still come up?
I love it now. I don't even think I'd change if somebody offered me this miracle cure and said you have a leg back. I don't think I would, and that purely I say that because I push myself more and more now because of it than I think I ever would if I had two legs, if that makes sense. I have moments where I go, how quick could I go if I had my two legs? How quick, do you know what I mean? All of these things, how far could I push myself? But the reality is I've pushed myself to this limit because of it. So for me, I don't think I'd change it at all. I have the odd occasion. I've got a tall mirror in a room, and every now and again, if I've got my leg off for whatever reason, and I stand up and I look in the mirror, I go, like, I've only got one leg, because it's so normal now. I don't see it with it off really, and obviously everybody else might see it with it, like my other half will see it all the time. Because when I'm sitting around at home, I'll take the leg off and I'll just chill and put the leg up. But I don't really see it because I'm obviously looking outward rather than looking inward towards myself. But every now and again I catch it in the mirror and I see it. I'm like, oh, like, and it kind of stops me in my tracks a little bit. But yeah, no, I wouldn't change it for the world now. Honestly, I look, it is part of me. It's who I am. And I think, like I say, it's pushed me to be, in my opinion, better than I'd have ever been without it. So
Yeah, that's really beautiful, man. Like, do you know, I was listening to something this morning actually that was talking about a similar thing. How even if we could imagine like a better outcome happening to us, we still would rather it be the way it is.
mm,
And I was thinking, like, it reminds me a bit of see, I don't drink anymore. Like, I was a bit too wild, me.
yeah,
You know, sometimes I think to myself, "Oh, why can't I just be normal? Why can't I just be like everyone else?" And that can sort of be somewhat alluring to sort of like sit in that sometimes. But then,
mm,
you know, and obviously they're two very different things. But like, would I be pushing myself in Hyrox if I was still drinking? Would I be doing a podcast if I was still drinking? Probably not.
nah,
Like, so there's something in that, isn't there? How the things that you were handed in life that are less than fucking ideal,
mm,
um, can end up being the thing that drive you to do special things.
yeah. I've always said, and I continue to say to the young people that I work with, there is a silver lining in absolutely everything, and I truly, truly believe that. Even the most horrific incidents, there's a silver lining in absolutely everything. And if we can find that, for me, that's what drags me through. That's what pushes me on. That's what makes. So whatever comes my way, if they didn't come up with this magical cure and they went, yeah, we're going to sort your leg out and you just get this leg back, you know, I'd go with it and I'd deal with it, you know, and I'd create something else coming out of that. Uh, but yeah, like I say, like I love the lead now. Like it's part of me. It's made me who I am. Uh, and I think anything that really comes into your life directs that for you, doesn't it? Like it's something I had no choice about. If somebody had said, "Yeah, you're going to lose your leg," or you've got a choice, absolutely not. Never gonna take that choice. No one will. But I wouldn't look back on it now. Like I say, so anything that really comes your way, for me, and I'm a big believer in this, whatever comes your way is what's always been destined to come your way. In any case, it's going to come your way regardless. Uh, So actually, it's just working with what you're dealt. And right now, I'm being dealt an amazing card in life. Like I'm in a great place, and I'm not naive enough to know that that's going to continue forever. You know, because it's not. And there's going to be times that are going to be tested. But knowing that there is always a way through everything. For me, having been in these dark places where I didn't want to be alive, and I had enough things around me to take my life, uh, to now experiencing the highs as little as 18 months to 2 years after. You know, that's that you will always come through whatever it is. So that's my biggest thing, and why I do what I do now with the retreats I run for other men with mental health and so on. So, but that keeps me sane at the same time. And this Hyrox program, a lot of it is to keep this in check rather than, in me going out. And don't get me wrong, every now and again I wake up, I look at myself in the mirror and I like what I see now, but that for me, it's more about what it's doing upstairs than it is for obviously the outlook of the body and so on. But we all do it for different reasons. So
Yeah. So let's talk about the retreats. So it's a discomfort zone, right?
yeah, discomfort zone. So it was a bit of a thing that when I was in a bit of a hole, I was like, right, a friend of mine invited me camping. And I hadn't been camping for years, and people are like, well, you was in the army, like you're always camping kind of thing, but it's different. So I hadn't been camping for years. And he says, I'll take my daughter here. every year, he says, and I use it as a bit of my reset kind of thing. I just go there, it's beautiful, the place is stunning, you know what I mean, and you just sets me off again. So he does it in the summer holidays. He works in schools as well, and he does it in the summer holidays to start him off again, ready for the next school year, really. So I went along with him with my son and daughter last year, this time last year it was, and it was just incredible. And my boy's 14, and he spends a lot of the time in his bedroom playing on computers and so on. And it's a bit of a hermit. And I took him out there, and at the end of it, he was jumping in the stream, he was jumping in the lake, he was doing all these things. And at the end of it, he turned around and said, like, this has been incredible, Dad. Like, I've never felt so alive, kind of thing. What it's something along the lines of what he said. And in that moment there, I went, this is where these thoughts of creating something for them to go and reset and start over and so on. This is where it's going to be. And it's been there since. So I've done 2 now. We rolled the first one out in April of this year. And then I've just come off the back of the second one, which was at the back end of July. For the second one. So basically what they are is 10 men go camping for 3 days underneath Snowdon on a campsite called Lingwinan on this massive lake underneath these mountains. Just absolutely beautiful setting. When the sun comes out, which is not very often in North Wales. And yeah, so we spent 3 days camping. We have fitness sessions within there. So one of the first things they do is come in, set up camp, and then we go and have a fitness session on like the beach, which is by the lake. Again, stunning surroundings, that kind of stuff. Then we have discussions on that night around why we are all there, and why you've chosen to come on the retreat. Then we climb Snowdon the following morning, where the discussions then just expand. Which was something that just fell in. It wasn't something I looked at originally and went, discuss Snowdon, discuss again, that kind of stuff. The first one we had the discussions, and then it just exploded on Snowdon because everybody listens to everybody else's stories but doesn't then start discussing it really at that time. So then you see people, and on Snowdon you're walking for 4 to 5, maybe 6 hours, whatever it might take, for everybody to get up and down as a group. So you then bounce around different people. So it was constant of, you've got 10 blokes that are then spending 10, 15 minutes with different people and discussing their stories and what they've been through and so on. And that proved to be amazing. We come down off there, then we go into water sports on the lake. And then that evening again, then we talk about everything. So what I focus on a lot is the 5 ways to well-being. Which, for me, are the easiest option we can have, the cheapest option we can have, the easiest option we can have that we can implement into our lives on a daily basis that can improve the way we feel mentally. Don't get me wrong, I always say counselling, therapy, absolutely essential. But what a lot of people did was, my old man said to me once, he says, if this is the way you're going to go, it needs to be offered to people who have got no money, who've got, that are struggling, that can't afford to pay £60 a session, that can't afford the whatever it is to be able to get support. So there's got to be something available for them, and that's understandable to them. Because originally I was talking about a podcast myself, and this was where all this chat came from my dad, about making it more accessible to everyone, really. So that, I've lost my train of thought now. Where were we?
You're talking about the 5 ways to well-being.
Yes, that's it. So that bringing them in is a way that I've been able to implement through my work and the stuff I do for mentoring, and be able to put things in place for the kids. I've then started putting those 5 ways to well-being into my daily life. And it just, when I feel low, just going out and having a walk and spending a bit of time in your surroundings, you know, in this kind of thing, connecting with people, going and doing stuff, doing something for someone else, learning new things. All of these things that are part of this 5 ways of wellbeing are free. I can do them for nothing. And actually, if I can go away and introduce these, because these are not my 5 ways to wellbeing, they're open on the internet, but obviously you need to be aware of them in the first place for people to be able to implement them into their own lives. So that's something I focus on in there.
What are those 5 ways? What are they?
So they are connect with people, they are be active, learn something new, give to others, and be present in your surroundings. So this whole retreat is centered around those 5 things. So every kind of activity is taking in as many of those 5 things as you possibly can. So as you can imagine, you're walking up Snowdon, you are connecting with others when you've got 10 people in and around you and you're having discussions. You're being active. A lot of people have never walked up a mountain before, and they're having discussions about different bits and pieces, and they're potentially learning something new. When we are having to wait for an 144 kilogram bloke because we're getting up there at the top on it together, you know, and they're giving to other people, they're giving their stories to other people, they're giving their advice to other people. And then one of the things I've implemented into the retreat is this thing where I say, take a moment. And when you say take a moment, no one can talk, no one, just stops. And everything just stops, and you just take in everything. So you feel everything. I've gone all goose pimply now thinking about it. Where you just stop and feel everything. So you feel the wind on yourself, you listen to the birds, and you listen to what's going on. All of your senses just massively explode. So we put that in. So halfway up Snowdon, you look down and you can see a lake and so on, and I go, this is perfect. And I go, right, boys, we're just going to stop here for a second. We're going to let everybody catch up. Once everybody's back as a bit of a group, get some food on board, get some liquids on board, and then, right, let's go. And then I go, right, take a moment. And then we stop there for 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes. It depends really on how it's going. And for me, coming off the back of the 2, and the feedback I've had off the lads is they just love the take a moment where they feel everything. So that's been something. And it was something randomly that just come to me on the way to the first retreat. I was just like, I can throw this in, see what it looks like. I don't want people to think I'm some sort of nutcase just going, right, take a moment. But we've done it, and it's just been incredible. So yeah, implemented them 5 things in on that second night, talking about them a little bit more and how they could implement it into their own lives. Because the way I implement it into mine is going to be completely different to the way that you would implement them into yours. And then the final day we pack up, which is normally when the sun comes out. Because the last 2 times we've done it, we've had rain for 2 days where we're doing everything. And then as we're packing up, the sun comes out. And then we head about 45 minutes from the campsite to Blaen y Ffestiniog, where there's a caving experience. So it's caverns rather than caving. So it's at height. So you're so it's basically like a goat ape or a Hyrox or something like that inside a cave, attached to cave walls. So you're climbing around these wobbly little steps that are attached to the side of the cave wall. And there's a 100-foot drop below you kind of thing, you know. And for me, the worst thing I've ever done in my life. I hate heights, anything like that. It's dark, there's light shining in your face, you can't see what's underneath you. It's horrific. But I'd said originally, when we went with my mate, we'd gone on and done the trampolining in the same caves. And I looked at the bit that they were doing. I says, never in a million years would I do that. And then as I was creating, obviously, the 3 days of Discomfort Zone, I was like, I'm going to be comfortable talking about my mental health. I'm going to be comfortable with my fitness. I'm going to be comfortable going up and down Snowdon. I'm going to be I was like, I need to take myself out of my comfort zone to show them that I'm willing to do it as well. And boy, did that take me out of my comfort zone the first time I went round it. It was a bit better the second time, but the first time I went round, I genuinely, if I'd have had an opportunity to come off it, I'd have come off it crying and just kept myself in a cave forever. Because it was just, it was horrific. But again, it's pushing yourself through those barriers. Where, like I said, on the last one, I had a lad who's 144 kilograms who's never been up a mountain before. And halfway up said he can't go any further. And he got to the top and he come back down and he felt amazing for it because we all wrapped him up. I needed wrapping up in the caves. So yeah, it's part of that. And then that basically ends the 3 days really. But it's all funded. So I try and do all the fundraising for it. Or get people involved who've been on it to do some fundraising, or people that are coming on it to do a little bit of fundraising themselves before they come out. So basically, I want to provide them this 3-day retreat for as cheap as physically possible. So all I need them to do is provide themselves, I think it's 1 evening meal, 2 lunches and a breakfast. Everything else I provide as well. And obviously get themselves there. So that's the only barrier they've got to get across. And then some people, they say, oh, I don't drive, I can't get there, but I've got other people coming from the area, and the boys come together, pick each other up and bring them there, you know. So it's ideally they are all coming on this 3-day retreat, and it's going to probably cost them about 30 quid, 50 quid all in, where it's about 150 quid a person. But I'm raising that money in the meantime from now until then to then be able to provide that for them, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's awesome. So how do you go about the criteria for who gets to come along?
So basically, I put it out on social media. So I've got my own personal account, and then I've got a Discomfort Zone account as well. So I then start pushing out from the last camp, showing content from the last camp, what went on, and then it just gathers that kind of interest. So I've already got 3 or 4 people already interested in for April. But basically what I try and do is get as many names as possible. And then from about 4 months out, I then ask questions and try and build a community that are relatively similar. So I know on the last one, I pushed it up to 15, and I ended up getting, I think, 17 people in all. But then ended up only running it with 10 because I had so many dropouts and few drop in and then couldn't make it and have to have an operation. A lad had a heart attack, you know, some of these things that really stop people coming. So we then went back down to 10. So the spaces are there, the spaces are available. And obviously I only run 2 a year. So I'll run one in April and one in July. The idea is if we get so much interest that I've got 30, 40, 50 people coming, that I ask one of the boys on there to run theirs as well, you know, because I can only do it in the holidays, so I do it the Easter holidays and the summer holidays when I'm off work, that kind of stuff. But asking somebody else then to be able to go, right, can you take 10 lads here, do this and run on the same kind of program. So I had one lad who came on the first one, who came and instructed with me on this second one. So he supported me on this second one with the aim that obviously if we do build this up to a point where there's loads of names coming in, that other people can then take them. So if we can get 12 going out a year, there's 120 men at least, you know, that we're reaching rather than the 20 that we're reaching at the moment. But obviously that relies on it growing. That relies on it us going into an actual official charity, which is jumping through so many loops to actually get there. Is being a bit of a barrier at the moment, but I think the support and the funding is there. They just want it to be a bit more than a GoFundMe page, which is what it is now. You know, so going from there, I've got potential link-ups and things that are growing moving forward that could really help the funding to be able to make it obviously bigger. So yeah, that's the plan moving forward.
So cool. Yeah, I love it. It's so simple, isn't it? But yeah, there's beauty in that, isn't there?
And actually, like the lads that are coming on here, for me now, know that they can take themselves or grab a group of lads if they just needed that little bit of a reset, you know, they're struggling, they've had a few weeks where they're down, or, you know, I always say there's a few days, embrace it, take it on, get upset, cry, feel the emotions, you know, but actually once we're getting into that few days, 3, 4, 5, 6 days of feeling the same way, we've got to start to act, we've got to start to do something about it. Where implementing these 5 ways to well-being is something that really works for me, and I put out there as, put it into your life, and if it doesn't work for you, tell me, please. And I'd say to anybody, tell me if you put these into your life and it doesn't make you feel better, tell me. And no one's come back to me yet and said, oh, I've done all these 5 and nothing's, you know, felt better, you know. So for me, it's something that absolutely works, that costs nothing and is just so simple. I did a step challenge recently where Discomfort Zone, so Discomfort Zone is on the back, and then Unfazed is a company that I'm an ambassador for, a clothing company.
Cool.
So we had Discomfort Zone versus Unfazed. So we fell out for 2 weeks and went to war. But actually, I had 20 people on my team, 20 people on their team, and every single day we went out. It was just a step challenge, going out and counting your steps. And every single day we connected with other people. Every single day we was being active on a regular occurrence because I needed to get the steps in. Every single day I was learning something about different people and how competitive they were and what other people were doing. You know, I was getting and being present in my surroundings. And for me, we were giving to each other because we were working as a team, you know. So it was like every single day for 2 weeks. I was just buzzing. I was getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, going for an hour's walk before I'd then go and train, and then I'd go and do this, and then I'd go and walk on a night time. It was just phenomenal. It made me feel phenomenal. So actually, it's something that we can all just implement into our lives that costs us nothing. And literally, a walk a day, for me, was the easiest way to get all 5 in.
Yeah.
So it was, and it felt incredible.
Do you know, like, you know, we were talking before about like getting into like season mode and stuff like that, and one of the things that sort of fallen by the wayside a little bit for me was like our regular walks.
Yeah.
And I had a period like last maybe autumn or whatever, and I was just going out all the time for walks, like not necessarily like long walks, but it was like, well, I've got 10 minutes around the block. I've got 30 minutes. And that was no coincidence. That was the time where I felt like my brain was firing the best. What about you? But like, if you go for a walk without your headphones, and like, you just get all these ideas.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've really started to notice it, because like, that's the beauty about having some time off doing kind of good things and then reintroducing them. You're like, fucking hell, where's this been?
Yeah.
Like yesterday, I was having a walk on the block, and I had this like, I was trying to think of like an analogy for it, but I was like, can you imagine if you had like a load of like bits of fucking Lego or Meccano or something, and you're in like a big box, and you've got all the pieces to make the thing, but you're like, so many fucking pieces in this box, like, what the fuck am I going to do with it?
Yeah.
And I thought of it as like, the walk is like taking the pieces out and putting them on the rug.
Yeah.
Like, but when you're at home and you're at your desk or whatever, and you've got all this incoming, like they're like the pieces of Lego and the blocks and stuff, and it's like, you need to then integrate these ideas. So about like getting out for a walk is just like best thing to be like, okay, well, how's that work together? And like, oh, that is a solution, because you're not fucking sat in the fucking Lego all the time with all the shit coming in your way.
Literally, yeah, literally. For me, it's one of them. And again, I've let go of it since that challenge, because I was doing it so much. I was just like, and what Ralph literally said, like, because I felt this past week or so, because I'm not working, I'm not in my normal routine, and so on. I've gone, can't be bothered with anything, you know, and I've just felt that. I'm not in a negative mental health state. I've just been a little bit like, I've just lacked motivation to train, but lacked motivation on a daily basis. And she went, we're not getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and walking. And it was the thought of getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and walking, then going and training or trying to fit training later and walk again was an absolute nightmare. But I felt incredible. And for me, that's something now, like, because I'm not in my routine of what I normally am for this 6 weeks, I'm like, right, I've got to find my routine again. By the time I find a routine again, I'm going back to work and I'm going to change my routine again. So I always struggle with the 6 weeks, I do, because I've got to have that kind of routine, that kind of balance, that kind of knowing what's going on and not having to think too much about what I'm doing next. So yeah, getting out and just being present. This is something, again, this present one is just something that's been, again, like I said earlier on in the chat, if you'd have said to me as a young man, just go out and be present, go and feel the wind, go and do this, go and do that, I'd have thought you'd have gone mad. But now at this age, I'll go out and I just admire the world we live in. Like the place we live is just stunning, and you can find it. I can walk through my town centre, which is a bit of a, it's not the greatest of places, but it's not the worst either, you know. And I can smile and I can just see things that just pick me up because I focus on it and I can look at it and I can feel it and I can just focus on those senses while you're doing it. And it just doesn't fail for me. So it's something that I certainly put into my daily routine, and something I encourage, obviously, all the blokes that come onto the Discomfort Zone, that they then do as well. But that feeling, I run with my top off around the streets, and I know I've done it for years. I look at people running with the top off around the streets, and I'm like, what is it? He loves himself, he's like that. All of this kind of stuff, I've done it. And I know for a fact people are thinking of me.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't care. That wind, when it hits me, in December, when it was -2, I ran with my top off.
Nice.
And the cold, the feeling, all of that, the wind, I have genuinely never felt so alive. And for me, that's it. I run out of my gate and that's it. My top's off and it's tucked in and I'm going out. And I don't care what other people think, you know, it's me. I'm not doing it because I think I'm in great shape. Again, like we say, the goal of the shape I wanted is always going to keep moving. You know, I'm never going to be fully happy with it. That's great.
Right.
You know, so I'm not taking my top off for that reason. I'm taking my top off because I feel alive. I feel great. I feel good, and I want to feel all of those feelings, those sensations. And I don't mind doing it now. And as a young man, I'd have got no way in this world of I taking my top off because I don't want to look like that clown who loves himself over there, kind of thing. And I'm just like, if that's what other people think, that's what other people think, you know. But this is just me feeling alive, because I felt at a point where I didn't want to be alive, like I said earlier. And the more I can feel alive now, the better it's going to be for me.
Yeah, man. It's something like, yeah, I go for a walk first thing in the morning, and if there's a bit of sun out, I'll usually take my top off, and you do feel like a bell end. Like, and, you know, people are walking past, and it's not even that hot. You know, people walking past in fleeces and that, but it's like, but yes, there is an ego element, there is some there, but there is a natural like wanting to be like close to nature.
Yeah.
Like if we'd have gone back like what 10,000 years, I don't know, like we'd have all been walking around topless, naked anyway. So it's a natural thing for us to have.
Yeah.
And certainly, like, you know, if you live where we do and there's no fucking sunshine ever, like whenever it comes out, make the most of it.
Absolutely.
But like the whole Hyrox thing, man. I mean, I have actually been toying with the idea of not having my shirt off, like the next one, because I don't know, I just got the itch for a little bit, but then I was like, but it's gonna be fucking hot.
Yeah.
Like if you're used to racing without your shirt on,
Yeah.
it is. But there's something about it, like it's quite animalistic, isn't there? I think you get a bit of an extra gear sometimes. If you're doing a session and then you're like, take me top off, like, and you get like a little bit of like something just comes out. I remember one
Yeah.
time, like we were doing a session, and I remember just like looking around, and I was like, what am I looking for? And I was looking for another item of clothing to take off, but all I had was special. Is there anything else?
That's why I always put a headband on. I always put a headband on the top of my headphones when I'm training, because then my headphones is off first, then my headband's off, and then the top, you know. So, but yeah, I couldn't do it. And again, it's not because I feel like I feel massively inferior when I stand on a start line at Hyrox with my top off, because there's some absolute units there, and
With all the juice heads.
you know, some incredible humans there, you know. But again, it's just that part of feeling alive, that part of feeling win, that part of yeah, it's just like, to me, it just makes me feel more alive and more ready to rock and roll. I couldn't think of anything worse than wearing a top now to do at Hyrox, especially indoors. Horrific.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Oh, one of the things that you've mentioned, mental health, low mood, going through rehab process, and you're a father, you're a grandfather.
Mm.
How do you sort of like you're like very open about your mental health journey and stuff like that. How are you able to be like a good role model, a protector for your community, for your family, a masculine male, and have this like vulnerable side to it? It's something that I always think about, because I'm all about the vulnerability. I'm very open on my podcast, so I'll talk about mental health, I'll talk about my attachment style, all the rest of it. But I'm not father, and I look at my dads, and I think I don't know many that are mega open, and I often wonder, like, how do you get that balance of being like the patriarch in a community and open up about, like, how do you feel about that side of things?
I think for me, it's one of the I get the benefit. I feel as if that I had an army career, so people always go, okay, he's from the army, he's big, strong, and that's a natural feeling. I believe that people think people in the army have. It's not always the truth either. But I feel like I've got that kind of authority maybe because of that. My job is in behaviour. Like, I lead the behaviour at a school, so it's again one of these things where I believe our young people are incredibly respectful, and I know a lot of people will go, what, at that stage right now, because we see a lot of young people doing things that we all disagree with, and so on. But I felt nothing but respect because of obviously my background. Yeah, I've also been through times in my life where, as a strong male, that I felt I can't show my emotions. Where I think majority of us are in and around my age, for sure. Like, I'll get a grip. One of the things I was always told as a kid, you cry faster than you can piss, was you cry faster than you can piss, and that's why I got hammered for it, hammered by family members growing up. So I always felt like I couldn't show my emotions, and I think that's what then led me into kind of the hole that I was in, because I didn't want to show my emotions. I didn't want to tell people about how I was feeling. So for me, it's only been the past few years really that I've been a little bit more open about my own struggles and so on. Because for me, I want my son, I want my daughter to be able to sit and come to me, and my grandson in years to come, and go, actually, do you know what? that thing you said that once, although it's quite a difficult one, and a lot of people might think actually I'm a bit too open for my kids. And again, that's people's opinions, and I'm never one to say that I'm right and what I believe is correct. You know, it's what I believe. It's what I believe is going to be beneficial for the people around me. Whether it's right or not, I don't know. But I'm open with them to hopefully show that everybody goes through hard times. Everybody feels a certain way. Everybody feels negative. Everybody feels positive. You know, whether it's physical or mental. You know, and it's constantly going to be like that. And actually, if I'm open about my experiences and how I've come through them, hopefully people can then be more open with me, where I personally didn't feel I could massively speak to too many people, or didn't want to. I don't think I didn't feel as if I could. I felt within myself I couldn't, not because people didn't give me the opportunities to have those conversations, but more in myself, because I felt like I needed to be this masculine, strong army lad that loves football and rah, 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 and all of this kind of let's be a man. When I sit here now, I feel more of a man now, sharing my experiences, sharing my emotions, and showing these young people that you can share your emotions but still be a man, of what people assume a man should be, and so on. So for me, it's that kind of offer of it's okay to talk, because if we don't talk, that's when, for me, it gets worse. Like, well, I've lost a lot of men in my life through suicide. And the reality is, a lot of them couldn't talk. A lot of them didn't want to talk. And I'll go back on this, and I'm stepping back a little bit. And this is one of the big focuses I do on the retreat, is talk when you're good, not when you're bad, because you ain't going to talk to no one when you're bad. When you're feeling low and you're feeling down, I ain't going to go to my number one in my world, because I don't want to offload my burden onto them. I don't feel like telling them. I'm feeling like I don't want anybody around me. I'm feeling like I don't want to be here or whatever. So when I'm good, to talk more about it. And that's what I kind of try and put across. And if I can talk more about it now while I am in the best I feel I've been physically and mentally in my life, if I can talk more about it now, hopefully that opens the gates for people to be able to obviously then talk more about it when they're able to be a bit more open and a bit more understanding of other people, and take it on board and understand that they can be okay and they're not going to be judged. I don't know whether I'm judged. I might be judged by a community out there for going, oh, okay, so yeah, talks about this, talks about that, whatever. But again, it's took me nearly 40 years to not care about what other people think as well. And actually just doing what I believe is the right thing for the people around me. And this is what I believe is right, is being open and touching on some subjects that people wouldn't touch on, to hopefully give my children and grandchildren that kind of platform to be able to have somebody that they can talk to. And if it's not me, just having the understanding that you can talk and can talk to someone.
And since you've like decided to open up about stuff, like how has your children and grandchildren, like have you noticed this change in them opening up to you or viewing you differently or anything like that? Have you sort of?
I don't think necessarily I've seen massive changes. My children are still young, apart from my eldest. My eldest is 26 now. So yeah, there's no real massive shift or massive change. But again, for me, they are.
You can see.
No,
there's probably something going on, like behind. Yeah.
Yeah, and the reality is, I know it more than most probably. Is your kids don't want to talk to your parents. Like, I have kids come to school and talk to me at school because they don't want to worry their parents, and then the parents go, why won't they just talk to me? I've always had this open relationship, you know. But they don't want to put that burden. They want to put that burden on me. They don't want to put that burden on you. And as long as my children can talk to someone, or as long as anyone really has that ability to go, yeah, I can go and talk to someone. I can have these open conversations. I've got somebody in my life that I can talk about these things. For me, that's going to be beneficial. And it wouldn't necessarily, like I say, with my children being me, I'd be stupid to think that it's gonna. Oh yeah, it's got to be me. They'll definitely talk to me. That's nuts. They're like, they're not going to want to talk to me. I get that, but as long as it gives them the opportunity to obviously open up to someone and be able to talk about their feelings and understand them and take it in and feel them. It's okay to feel down. It's okay to feel rubbish. It's normal, you know, and you will perk back up, but you will come back down. So actually, when you do come down, you feel like it's fine. I'm going to be all right in a few hours, in a day, in 2 days, whatever it might be, you know. But having that process of them being able to understand you can be up and down.
Do you think it was losing your leg that eventually kind of led you down this path of opening up about your emotions? Like, what changed? Because one of the things I speak a lot about authenticity on this podcast, and someone was talking to me about. She invited me on her podcast actually to talk about attachment styles, which is like, oh, it's really rare for like a guy to be like talking about all these emotions and stuff. But then you're also kind of doing like the training thing, your Hyrox thing. You've got your masculine and your sort of feminine energies. And I always said, well, for me, it was kind of easy because I've always been the sensitive, like open guy, but I've always struggled with like the masculine element, you know, being like a little bit scared of stuff when I was at school. So for me, it was like just be me and just start lifting weights to get that balance.
Yeah.
Whereas I've always wondered, like, if you're coming at it from the other angle, which is more like masculine, traditionally masculine, like going after it, army, whatever it may be. But then how do you then tap into that feminine energy and opening up?
For me, it's always been there. It's always been like, for me, I've always been the one like, you cry faster than you can piss, that comment, you know. Clearly I've always obviously had that ability to get upset and not necessarily worry about it as a young person. I think as that got through to teenage life, that's when it kind of got, I can't do this because people are going to judge me, you know, and I think that's the pressure I put on myself. But I think the reality is, and I think I use my leg to my advantage, and hopefully if it can help other people in any way, then that's going to be a great thing as well, you know. And the way I look at it is, I train hard, and then, yes, a lot of it is for my own personal goals, my own personal targets. But if I can train to a certain level where people are going to look and go, wow, this geezer's only got one leg. Yes, he can do this, he can do that. And that's going to be able to support or inspire them. That's what my life kind of revolves around. I love supporting, inspiring, and so on other people to become better themselves. And actually, if I can't sit there, two of the most recent lads that took their lives, we were talking, we were having conversations, we were regularly chatting about these emotions, but it still happened. So for me, it was then like, okay, that was over 6 months to a year period. I was talking to each individual one of them because they were in a dark place and they were reaching out. We were having conversations. But if I can do it while people are good, it provides that kind of that baseline that those two potentially didn't have and ended up taking their own lives because of it, if that makes sense. So if I can use my legs so where people will, if I was a normal, I say normal, I don't think anyone's normal, but if I was a middle 42, 41-year-old bloke with 2 legs taking part in Hyrox, I wouldn't necessarily be seen as much as I would be the fact that I'm doing it with 1 leg. You know, so people are taking notice of me a little bit more because of my leg.
Yeah.
People are having respect for me a little bit more because I lost my leg in a war zone. You know, all of these kind of things. So a lot of people have all come to me and gone, yeah, but you inspire because of what you do. And I couldn't wrap my head around it, you know. And I was just like, but I am just doing what everybody else is doing. And then somebody went, but you've got something different to everybody else. And okay, I'm not doing it, but everybody else is doing it. But I'm doing what a lot of people are doing. But I've got something that makes people notice it a little bit more. So if I can use that to my advantage to be able to inspire, to be able to support, to be able to help other people, then yeah, it is. So going back to your question there, is it since the leg? Probably it is, where I've been able to then go, because I did hit a slump and then I've hit a slump again later on in my life. But it was coming out of there really, of where I've then gone, actually, do you know what? I realised I needed to talk and I needed to be more open when I'm good than because I'm not going to do it when I'm down. And if I'm open and more regularly talking about it, people will be able to see, people will be able to understand, people will be able to support me.
Yeah, it's a strange irony, isn't it, that by losing your leg, you end up with a platform, more of a platform, and yeah, it becomes like this metaphor for like being able to get through tough times and crack on with it. Before like we'll wrap up shortly.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, like, what would you say to someone out there who's maybe they've just lost a limb, and are like just starting the, you know, they've had their moment where they look down the hospital leg and like, what the fuck? Or you know, what would your advice be to those guys and girls out there that are going through that?
In short, be patient. Because I have been speaking to a few people that I've been put in contact with who have lost their legs quite recently. And they're like, yeah, but this time next year, I want to be doing a Hyrox. And I'm just like, okay, like you've got to be realistic. You know, chances are a year into my rehabilitation, I had bone growth. So I had to go back in, have it opened up again, shaved down, sewed back up. So I was back to square one. You know, so I was 10 years into my amputation before I even started getting back into fitness. You know, so it was a long period of time. So for me, it would be patient, but understand that this can be this. It can be the point of the life where it turns around for the biggest positive that you could ever wish for, which is mad to try and comprehend when you're in those early stages. But obviously, I'm incredibly lucky I've got my left knee. You know, if you haven't got your knee, it's a lot more difficult. But again, there's people out there doing incredible things. Tyler Saunders, for one, hasn't even, he's up to the waist pretty much with his 1 leg. And he's out there just absolutely trashing things that you just I couldn't do myself. You know, that you couldn't do. You know, he's doing these things on 1 leg. It's not over. It is would probably be the first thing I'd say. But be patient, and it's a process where it's going to take a good few years of getting back to kind of any kind of normality. But in 5, 10 years, 15, 20 years time, you're going to be arguably in a better place than you probably would have been if it didn't happen. I always feel as if I'm quite lucky in the mental side of losing my leg. Is I went to a war zone where you half expect to lose a limb. Where if somebody's come off a motorbike, for instance, in a car accident and ended up losing a limb, they've already got a year's worth of trying to get their head around the fact that they're an amputee, where I've already been doing that for a year before I became an amputee, if that makes sense, because I was going to a place where it was likely 1 in 3 of us was going to be injured or killed, so it was conversations we was having with 2 of my mates at the time going, I hope it's you and not me, kind of like silly kind of army banter. And it ended up being me out of the 3 of us, but so already I was prepped for that. So again, that's a period of time you're going to have to come through of getting used to the fact that you are an amputee and why has this happened to me and all of this kind of stuff. But there is a massive light at the end of the tunnel if you want it. It's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a battle, but there is light. And like I say, it's been a beacon for me, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Awesome. That's so cool. Thank you, mate. Where do you want to direct people to check out your Instagram, etc.?
So on Instagram, I am Hyrox_Amputee. And also if they can check out and get the t-shirt out, I don't know if you can see it.
Nice.
That one there, Discomfort Zone. It's at Discomfort Zone 2024 on Instagram as well. And there's now a Facebook page, which is being run by one of the lads who was on the last one. Who's going to be up. There's going to be a website coming out for Discomfort Zone soon as well, which is going to have all the links to be able to obviously apply to come on. If anybody does want to obviously get in touch, hears this and thinks, do you know what, that's something I'd really like to try and attend in April, then jump on either of those platforms, Hyrox_Amputee or Discomfort Zone 2024, and just drop me a message, and then I'll put you on the list, and then we move forward from there. So yeah, those platforms.
Awesome, mate. This has been great. We finally made it. I think we had two cancelled ones, but for one reason or whatever. But yeah, I love connecting with people from different walks of life and whatever. Like the whole Hyrox thing is just awesome, where you connect with people, and I'm really grateful to have this chat with you. And yeah, it's awesome what you're doing. All the fucking, the thing, the whole inspiring thing. Like, it's a bit cliche, but yeah, it's fucking awesome. Using, like you say, as a beacon. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how you get on this year.
Yeah, no pressure.
See you at, I'll maybe see you at Birmingham if you can.
I know what's going to happen. The thought of going back to Birmingham has been hell, but then the 2 weeks before it happens and the ticket comes available, I'm going to go, and I'm probably going to end up jumping on it. So we shall see. Yeah, we shall see.
All right, mate. Well, thanks. I hope you have a good weekend, and I'll chat to you in a bit.
Thank you very much, mate. I appreciate you having me on.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate.